Well, welcome on into our Atlanta studio for the CarMax pregame show on a Center Court Friday. We'll get you out to TD Garden, where Matt Weiner, Brendan Haywood, and 3D Dennis Scott will be warm and on the call for the Suns and Celtics. That's about 30 minutes from now. That is Greg Anthony, Steve Smith. I'm Jared Greenberg. Check your watch, fellas. It is about that time. It's been too long for the Nets since they've had any drama, so ring it up. Here comes Kyrie right into the equation. He's entered the chat. Here's Chris Haynes tweeting earlier today. Brooklyn Nets star Kyrie Irving has requested a trade, league sources tell NBA on TNT. This comes in the aftermath of the sides unable to get an extension done. All right, so let's go to Chris Haynes, who joins us live on the telephone for the latest here. All right, Chris, so update us on this status here before we get into all the drama surrounding the Nets. What led to Kyrie's team going to the Nets saying they no longer want to play for this team?
So it all started last week. So last week I had a story with Kyrie Irving's agent, who is his stepmother, Shatilia Irving, and she went on the record, at that time and said that her and Kyrie, they're trying to get an extension done and they want to be in Brooklyn long term. And at that time, she said the ball was in the Nets' court. And so for a few days, the Nets were kind of quiet. They weren't receptive to it. And so I guess in the last couple of days, they presented an offer, and I just reported this about 20 minutes ago, and this is ultimately what led to Kyrie Irving requesting a trade. I was told that Irving and his camp, they did not negotiate after the Nets presented an offer that was tied to the team winning the championship. So sources said that was a big insult to Kyrie and his camp. And I was told the issue was not about money, but just to show you how he feels about the Nets and, the stance that they took in trying to put that stipulation into the contract. I'm told even if the Nets came back and offered him a full max, he would not accept it. He wants out.
So he wants out. The Nets may oblige, they may not. Does it appear that there's a market for Kyrie Irving right now to give up something to acquire him?
Yeah, there's a market. There's three teams as of right now. I expect other teams to call in and inquire, but those three teams, obviously the Los Angeles Lakers, Phoenix Suns, and the Dallas Mavericks. Those are teams that have been engaged with the Brooklyn Nets trying to see what could potentially get done. And I also tweeted this, myself as well, with the Phoenix Suns. You look at some of the teams that have something to offer. The Phoenix Suns are one of the few teams that can facilitate a deal where both teams would still be in championship pursuit. And so I think with the Brooklyn Nets, they have a little bit of time, as we're a little under a week away from the trade deadline, to where they can try to canvass and sift through the best offers. But Sean Marks over there with the Brooklyn Nets, he's going to have a quite busy time. I would be very surprised if Kyrie is still a Net past the trade deadline.
All right, so Kyrie Irving is the third member of the Nets to ask for a trade in less than the last year, with James Harden last February, Kevin Durant over the summer, and now Kyrie here. The Nets came to some sort of agreement with KD to get him back into camp this year. Any idea where Kevin Durant's head is right now, heading into the trade deadline less than a week from today?
That's what we're all trying to get a glimpse into what KD is thinking right now. Obviously, he hasn't responded to any of my texts today, and understandably so. But I will say this, that is definitely the next puzzle. After this situation with Kyrie is resolved, you have to know. For the Nets, I would think they will be right now even trying to, get into KD's ears and try to explain what's going on and try to get him to understand that they are still on the path of trying to compile pieces to win a title. And I think that's what most GMs will be doing as of right now. But, yeah, that's the million-dollar question. What is KD thinking? Where is his head at? Because KD and Kyrie are awfully tight. So, that's something we'll have to monitor after this Kyrie situation is resolved.
Just real quick, one more point of clarification. Have you heard from Kyrie's stepmom or Kyrie directly if the Nets are unable to facilitate a trade by next Thursday's deadline? Is he going to be willing to play for the Nets and finish out this year?
That's a good question, Jared. I haven't been able to talk to Kyrie or his agent as of yet. You know, with things going down right now, I think they're laying low. But what I will say is that he has informed the Nets that he will leave in free agency if he is not traded. So with that being said, I would tend to think that he would finish out the season. I would tend to think he will still cooperate and finish out his contract. But just the way that was explained to me with him saying if he's not traded by the deadline, he will walk in free agency, that leads me to believe that he would finish out his tenure with the Nets and just bolt for free agency.
All right, good stuff. Chris Haynes, NBA on TNT Bleacher Report. We'll continue to follow the latest with you on Twitter as we bring back in our guys, Greg Anthony and Steve Smith. There's, of course, with the Nets, 10,000 different places we can go. I'll tee it up to you, Mr. Greg Anthony. You surprised that you heard this news early this afternoon that Kyrie wants out?
No, I think the team, in essence, made the decision when they didn't offer the extension. I think that was there. Remember at the beginning of the season, he asked to be traded. And you made a very good point that we were talking about before we came on, the fact that how about they've had 3 megastars in less than a season, in essence, all asked to be traded. That's unprecedented. I've never seen a scenario where you have 3 megastars all ask to be traded at some point. So,
not to mention on a team that has championship aspirations.
Yes. And to me, listen, we've heard all this narrative about there's nobody that's going to give Kyrie a max contract and all these other machinations. But the reality is there's going to be a team or two that's willing to go all in with an opportunity to win a championship. He's that dynamic of a talent. Is he polarizing? Absolutely. But there's still going to be a market for him. And listen, I can understand the net standpoint, but what Chris Haynes said, if they were trying to tie a contract to winning a championship, one, I don't even know that that's legal.
I don't think it is.
So I'd like to hear a little bit more about that, because I would say that probably would be a non-starter.
And I don't want to speak for Chris because this is not my reporting. My guess would be there would be a bonus involved. You would be highly compensated if the team were to win a championship. The contract wouldn't necessarily be tied to a championship. There would be a bonus system involved.
Well, but when you're talking those dollars, it would have had to have been something so significant that it would have been his salary would double. Maybe they're paying him half of a max year, and then he gets the full max if they win it. So in any way that you want to describe it, that to me does not make sense. And listen, and I heard Eddie Johnson talking about this earlier on SiriusXM. The reality is this: he's also doing the Nets a bit of a favor, because by giving them this time to say, look, let's see if we can go out and still make a deal where we at least get something in return. Because if they get past February 9th, they don't have his rights, in essence, and they don't have the ability to get any type of assets moving forward. And that would be disastrous, because now that means, and you've heard the speculation, they're probably going to have to move on from Kevin Durant.
Right. But because of the initial James Harden acquisition from Houston put the Nets behind the 8 ball so much. They had to give up so many future assets to acquire Harden. They couldn't recoup all of that when they traded Harden back out. They're not going to recoup all that when trading Kyrie. Let me just point out something else for a little bit of perspective on the Nets side. They gave Kyrie gave himself the chance to go out and get a deal this summer when he could have opted out of his 1-year contract coming into this year. The Nets said, you want to go get a contract, you can go get a contract. Clearly, that market was not there this past summer, which is why he opted in. And the Nets are saying now, we don't think that market is there for you.
Okay, can I chime in, Jay?
Please, I want to hear this.
Because to your point, right, yes. But let's start what you just said. To me, clearly there's teams that will give him a max right now. We will see. Maybe I'm wrong, but the way he has played without Kevin Durant. But I want to go back to this entire Brooklyn Nets. I don't know if we can title it because it's been something I've never seen.
Soap opera?
Yeah.
Whatever you want to title it, because I'm going to say I've been around the league for a long time. Me and GA the same age. We came in 91. Been around the league before this with the Detroit Pistons. I've never heard of a superstar asked to be traded. If you get, me and GA just talked about it. Is it me or him? That's usually with the coach sometimes.
Yeah.
Is it me or them? The coach and the president, GM, whatever the title is. Then I've never had 3 Hall of Famers, megastars in a year ask for this to be go. And then also, to your point, this is negotiating one-on-one. I have never been a GM, you or Greg Anthony, but we've been around. If he has an out and he becomes an unrestricted free agent, you have to make this deal where he doesn't have an extension. I don't wait to be handcuffed with 6 days left. You're really at his mercy because the team that wants him, you don't want him just from now until the end of the season. You want to sign a deal so he gets to basically pick where he wants to go. Because if I'm the team and he doesn't want to sign a deal, I can't give up that many assets, GA, and he doesn't re-sign with me or I have extension in place. So this has been unprecedented. And then also, we got a list of everything they gave up. I mean, if Kyrie leaves and Kevin Durant leaves, might be one of the all-time blurbs I've ever seen from an organization.
On the heels, just a couple of years ago, of the deal with Boston that put them behind the 8 ball because they gave up all those future assets to the Celtics for Kevin Garnett, Paul Pierce, and company.
But that wasn't under this management. That wasn't under
100%. It's just the organization.
Yes.
And this is, and in fairness, I don't even think this is as bad because the reality is these guys are still on their prime. Like, when this group was just those 2 guys together, even without Ben Simmons for the most part, they were 18-2 and trending. They were second in the Eastern Conference prior to the injury of Kevin Durant. So at the very least, just from a business perspective, had the extension been signed, you would have had the opportunity to move on if you don't win a championship and things go sour in the offseason. Now, you're probably not going to get the return on the investment you would have gotten a year and a half, 2 years ago, but you would get something, and you'd still have a viable opportunity to maybe win a championship this year, which would put all of that
I
to
just
bed.
wonder from a business standpoint and a basketball standpoint, what I'm about to say may not make sense, but I just wonder if Joseph Tsai, the Nets owner, and Sean Marks have had enough, and they're ready to move on.
Had enough.
Of Kyrie.
Okay. I mean,
under Kyrie, all they've had is drama, and they've won 1 playoff series.
Whether you say it's drama or not, but you didn't really get to. You decided by not get whatever the extension didn't go. You have 6 days left. Why put yourself in a hole where I'm coming to you, GA? You got 6 days.
Yeah.
GA might not pick up the phone call to the 24-hour and say, Smitty, I want this, 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 and this. And if I don't give it to you. You're going to lose him anyway, and I still might get him. This is not the way an organization. You can say Kyrie has drama, but you should have solved this in the summer. Because the biggest thing right now is, what is Kevin Durant thinking that's his good friend? Because now, if you think he asked for the coach and GM neglects, he might have the Nets change the name. I want the name changed.
I don't like the colors anymore.
But that's the other thing that what Smitty's like. It reverberates. It's a domino effect because it's not just Kyrie. You just had your most important piece, Kevin Durant, asked to be traded or get rid of the president and the head coach. They got rid of the coach. They did get rid of the coach. He came back in, but his situation was a little different in that you had him under contract for the next 4 years. And you've really not had any issues about him as a player. You know, he's always been all in and will continue to be. But, you know, he's also at a point in his career where it's really kind of like a chance to win a championship or bust. Like, you owe it to him and your fan base also to try to have a chance to win. Like,
who's him that you're saying?
I'm saying you owe it to Kevin Durant.
Right.
And that fan base, you know, because there was starting to be a lot of excitement about this Brooklyn team. And a lot of this, listen, there's enough blame to go around, but this isn't all just Kyrie because there were 2 other superstars that asked to be traded. You know,
no megastars.
Yeah, and you still have a guy in Ben Simmons who nobody knows what's going to happen ultimately as a player.
Couple of seconds left in the segment. Thursday is the trade deadline. Where is Kyrie playing Thursday?
If I had to, I think the 2 teams to keep the biggest eye on for me are the Lakers and the Heat.
Yep. Smitty?
I never put anything about Pat Riley because Pat Riley comes up and he's always thinking forward. I'm with GA. I go Lakers, Heat, and a little bit of the Dallas Mavericks. Yeah. That's my outside chance.
Chris mentioned the Phoenix Suns. I can add to a little bit of reporting on that until the ownership situation has some clarity to it, and I know there's a direction, but not full clarity, I cannot envision the Phoenix Suns getting it done unless that clarity comes in, which I know they're trying to rush it to happen, but maybe it does.
And they could be having conversations as to what they're thinking, and he could still have final say, knowing that he is ultimately going to take over. But I still would put the Heat and the Lakers up top.
So it's a big Friday night. We've got center court.
Huge.
The Nets are not playing, but the Boston Celtics are. The Phoenix Suns are. We also have crunch time. We'll talk to you about that coming up a little later on. And where are you heading next?
Under the rim?
Yeah.
Okay. We're going under the rim.
That's where Smitty lives.
I do.
We're coming up with Smitty's Under the Rim. Coming up next, this is the CarMax pregame show getting you set for the Celtics and Suns.